Hey guys, today's Saturday, October the 28th of 2023, and I want to go over Palladium. So without any further delay, let's get into it. So this is the spectrum analysis on a weekly chart using data from all the way to 2000. And there's a few cycles here. First off, the cycle I want to show you is a 330, and this one hits a trough pretty much the first week, second week of October. And now this cycle is going up. The next one, it's kind of mixed. It's like this 330 is not really strong, but it has a 60.10 Bartel. There's some higher ones here. There's this 245 cycle, and that one hit a trough somewhere around May the 29th, but you can see that price action continue pushing lower. And then there's a dominant cycle, which is 82, and this is a little more fractal, a little smaller. Hit a trough around July 10th, and the cycle is up, as you can see. But price action continues going down. So using the dominant cycle with the 330, this is kind of the projection you kind of get. And this is not saying that this is exactly how it's going to play out, but it's just, using probability that maybe it could play out. You can see that the dominant cycle now here is going to be hitting a peak, and then it pulls back down. So I don't know. It's kind of mixed. It's not really confident. The only thing I'm confident is with this 330, and just see a price action basis here, and then maybe may want to turn up. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like you got to be cautious because you don't want to catch a falling knife. So you just kind of want to see what could possibly work and kind of build a thesis. But so far, the 330 is looking good. The 82 is up. There's a cycle of 170. That one has been up. This one is 145. This has a Bartel of 88. It's the strongest one. But I'm like kind of leaning the 330 with the 82. And let's see how next week price action is. If it's going to be pushing lower, then maybe this cycle is not gonna, this projection line composite is not gonna pan out. Okay, so this is a daily chart of Palladium, and I'm using data from like 2017 to current prices, and there's only one cycle here that's pretty good, and it's the 314. So it makes it easier to pick something here that's obvious. But the problem is we just hit a peak. It would have been nice if it was now starting to go up, but this is the way it is. So now we hit a low here, hit a peak somewhere around October 11th, and you can see the price action just pretty much ignored the cycle and just continue doing its thing. That's why I say price is king. Even cycles could get them wrong, and it's just not going to follow anything. It's just going to follow what it wants to, price action wants to do. So now this cycle is down, and this cycle hits a trough somewhere around March, somewhere around there of 2024. So this is not good if you want to go long. It's not helping Bull's thesis, but just wanted to make you know and be aware that the daily cycle now is down, and the weekly cycle is hitting a peak or a trough somewhere around here, and then it starts going up. Okay, so the next thing I like to look at is the seasonality on Palladium. So far, using a 5-year, it indicates that October is kind of weak, November, December, and you can say January, February looks like it's pretty strong. They're pretty strong. Is that going to play out? We don't know, but just kind of looking at what has done in the past. Looking at 10 years, you can see that November is pretty strong, and December, and then January for some reason drops, and then February picks up. So you could kind of see a pattern here, and February being the strongest. Going to 15-year, See November, December pretty strong. Then January looks like it kind of bounces above. February strong. And 20 years, it looks like they're both strong. So in October, a little stronger, but we don't know if this is going to play out. But it's just good to know that if the seasonality were to play out November, December, January's kind of mixed, but February are pretty strong. Okay, so this is another seasonality chart I like to watch, and you can see that it's been selling off as of right now. There's a minus 35.32 year to date percent. So we had a 5 year, and it shows that there could be a probability where October 30th around there, the last week of October. Then I guess there's a nice little bump, and then it kind of consolidates here a little bit, then it pulls back, and then November 24th looks like there's another rally into December. So you want to keep an eye on these dates, November 7th and November 15th and November 24th. Once we put a 10-year average, you can see they kind of fluctuate. It looks like it on November 2nd is where it gets this nice little pop using a 10-year average. And they kind of culminate over here on November 7th. It kind of goes sideways, and then the 10-year average rallies a little earlier on November 21st. So the 21st and the 24th, that week, watch out for a possible rally. We had the 15-year average, and the 15 years average is interesting. From the 30th, the last week of October, this thing just gets Momo. Is it going to happen? I don't know. We're dealing with probabilities here. We just kind of want to see what could be a possible path, or, what could possibly happen. And, this is too good to happen right here. The 15-year, I could probably see maybe something like between the 5 and the 10, just kind of bouncing and then just kind of going sideways and pulling back. But if the 15-year happened, that's a gift from the gods. But we'll see. Just wanted to put it out there for you guys to kind of get a gauge for November. If this is going to be a bottom or there's more pain ahead. This is the commitments of trader report, and you can see that we're very stretched out between large speculators right here and commercial. But when you go in the past, looking at the commitments of trader report on Palladium, something very interesting shows up. Back around 2018, the biggest spread, maybe it was 2014. That's a big spread right there. Commercial was negative 31,000. Large speculators were up 30,000. And then here, 27, commercial was like minus 27,000. Yeah, so there was this, it's been bigger, and this is where we at right here. So there is more extremes that could play out in regards to Palladium, where they could get really ugly. But, so far, this is where we at. But I wanted to show you that, this is extreme people all the way on the other side of the boat. And then you see how things just kind of return to the mean. And then it expands again. And then it returns it back. And then it kind of consolidates. That's when the commercial and large speculators are undecided. And they kind of hovering here. And then you can see that from here, 2022, it just kind of sells off. And you can see now commercial hedging. They're buying as Palladium sells. And large speculators then start selling. And they're pushing lower. So in regards to large speculators being on the short side since 2014, you can see that they haven't been short at all until somewhere around, I mean, they've been short, but going negative starting 2021. You can see that they were negative here. And commercial never, I mean, they probably did. Commercial started getting positive was somewhere, yeah, 2021. This is where the crossover happened. And now they're spread out. So commercial are hedging, large speculators are shorting. So let's get back here to where we at. I mean, let's go to 2022. And what I want to see is if there's going to be some kind of reversal. I want to see us take out 9,861. I like to focus more on the commercial, not large speculators. Obviously, large speculators need to take out 9,718 to see a kind of reversal in their position. But so far, they are short and they're kind of basing here, but that doesn't mean that it could push lower. Same thing here with commercial. Right now, it's just kind of, they're both basing, kind of going sideways to see what happens. So I want to keep an eye on 9,861 and see if we could break that with force to see that they're going to reverse their position and maybe a rally into the end of the year. So let's look at some levels. There's a demand zone right here of 1090 all the way to 860. This area right here. And using these highs, I like to calculate time. So right now we're 29 bars or 29 months from this high. We're 19 from here. So it'll be interesting to be a 30th bar, which would be the 30th month. So kind of interesting to see how November is going to play out. This is going to be a 30 bar here coming up. But this is the area of demand right here. And I mean, it could continue pushing lower, but so far this is what I've established for some kind of maybe interest for the bulls right here, bottom feeders. And like I said, you don't want to catch a falling knife. You just kind of want to plan ahead and kind of see probabilities. Using the weekly chart, you have 129 bars from this high here. You got 903 days, and from this high, you got pretty much 85 bars, 595 days. So the bars are the trading days. So nothing really interesting there, but you can see that the super trend is telling you to stay short. So on the weekly, nothing has really changed. We go now to the daily. And on the daily, we have 622 trading days and 410 trading days. So nothing really interesting there in regards to these highs to this current low. And the trend continues to tell you to stay short until maybe 1228 is broken or breached. So you want to keep an eye on that level. This is for more conservative traders, but you can see that, it didn't really work out here. Give you a buy signal, then it flushed back down. Give you another buy signal here, and then it flushed back down. So maybe the daily will get you in a choppy mess. Maybe it's not a good strategy. Here you can see that you bought here, but then it just can't kind of going sideways. So maybe a good strategy would be to keep it on the weekly, but you got all this move you'll miss until you at least take out 1396. But it's all depend on your risk and your tolerance. If you go to the 4 hour for scalping, maybe we just got a buy signal now, which would be the 23rd, and you can see how choppy it is, just kind of now consolidating here, but it could break down. So I wouldn't recommend the 4 hour, but it's up to you. So 1229, and seeing if this, you can see that it just bounced right off of here. So let's see if this holds, but if it doesn't, it pushes here. This is probably going to be maybe a nice little sweet spot. So this is comparing the metal sector with palladium. You can see that we are the black sheep. We just continue to sell in a downward spiral. Gold is kind of oscillating, getting some Momo, the war, the uncertainty. Looks like it may want to test that high, meaning that maybe the dollar's going to turn around. So you keep an eye on the dollar. Silver's weaker compared to gold. And maybe gold is leading the way, and then silver will follow. Platinum kind of basing right here. Just kind of going sideways, but if this fails, maybe it's going to test that 800 level. So keep an eye on that. At least you got to take out 1,000 at least to get to Momo to test the 1,100. And copper kind of finding support here. But you can see that it's making lower highs and lower lows. If this area fails right here, you're probably going to go down and test this area right here. So that's pretty much an overview of what is going on the metal sector. And this is the last chart of this session, maybe part one. But I wanted to show you one thing interesting here. So this is a yearly chart of palladium, and you can see that this is the high. See this area right here? This area right here, there's a lot of support right here in this little area. If we ever get down there. But it all depends if we get there. 974 all the way to like 794. A lot of support. Another thing I want to show you is if you take a trend line from here, they said here. Look where we at. Oops. We had support right there. So keep an eye on that level. And why is that showing? Well, a couple of things. I'm using a log. If you don't use a log scale, this is what it looks like. So if you were to try to do it, let me see if I get this pen over here. Yeah, if you try to do it from that low to here, this is what your trend line will possibly look like. Very far away from here. So that's why I always tell my followers that use a scale in scale chart, log and unlog. That way you can see both. But with the log on, anchoring from here to this low, you see that we're hovering around here, kind of finding support, but we don't know if that's going to hold or not. Then you could just mess around and maybe put one here. And you can see now if we do that, it already failed it. But if you take it here, it looks like it's kind of holding, but we'll see. Nothing's guaranteed, but just an idea. Let's get this let's get this out of here. Remove drawing. So yeah, so that's the yearly. This is the quarterly. You can see the trend. Monthly down, weekly. I wanted to show you that. Keep an eye on that level. Let's go into the market profile. As you can see, we're at the value area high from this level. Point of control here, and we're kind of finding support here. You can see from the market profile, this area between 1170 all the way to 1062. There's a lot of support there on the monthly. Will it hold? We'll see. It could even push lower and go to the point of control, which is 752, which would be a nice little sweet spot to get in because you're right in the demand zone. Going to the weekly, you can see same thing here, kind of developing an area where there is support or where volume just kind of pulling in anywhere between that 1036 all the way to 1132. And that's where we're at right now on the weekly. And you can see volume negative. So far this week got a nice little bump, but nothing to get excited about. Just because we went over here, but nothing positive on the daily. Just kind of bell area low, but that's because this is a 1 year, so it's this is the low as of now. Nothing there. Let's go into our simple glance chart. What's interesting here is the 200 is coming up. 200 SMA on the monthly, so that's like somewhere around, let's see, 1017. So keep an eye on that. MACD crossover, which is positive, volume negative. Linear regressions are pointing down, so that's your last moving average. That pretty much a lot of people watch the 200. You're below all the moving averages. Linear regression pointing down. Market sentiment down. MACD is negative. The only thing positive here is the volume. Last week that was positive. Other than that, everything else here is negative. And on the daily, the only thing positive here is that you got a MACD crossover and you got a PPS buy signal. But like I said, you got to be careful. You don't want to catch a falling knife. You start buying here just because we know the weekly cycle bottom doesn't mean you're guaranteed it's going to pop. In the seasonalities tell you November and December are strong. You got to be a little more wise and be cautious because you never know. This thing can continue pushing lower. The trend is to the downside. We're just trying to figure out where could be a possible bottom. What kind of gives me a little more help is when I start including Gann technique. Maybe gives me a little edge, but it's kind of complicated. But you just want to keep an eye. There's more downside and kind of limit your risk on where you think there could be a turn, and you put your stop and then see what happens. So I showed you a few things like the trend line. Maybe this could be short-term support for a nice little bounce, and then maybe another leg down, or maybe this is it. You never know. We just got to see what price action is going to tell us next week. And lastly, let's go to the point of midpoint chart. You can see everything is just pretty much red, except the daily and the weekly, because we're kind of hovering through the midpoint. So for this week coming up, 1121, line in the sand, if we could stay above that and consolidate, that looks promising. But if we go below that, we're going to test 1088 and maybe even push lower. So if we do, targets to the downside is 1071, 1051. And on the daily, it's 1138, your balance. So you got 1138 and 1121. On the monthly, it's 1173, which is your midpoint. And you can see that we pierced this level right here. We found support here and then just kind of pushed lower and then came back above. So this is going to be a level you want to watch, 1119. But if we can get up there and stay, then maybe 1045 all the way to 1002. And a bigger picture level will be that 748. That could be a nice little sweet spot to build a position and just kind of see. And maybe you don't trade the Palladium. Maybe you could do an ETF. Maybe you could do a stocks. Maybe there's something out there that you could dip your toes in. But whatever you do, just be cautious and place your stops and manage your risk because you don't want to lose it all. Well, hopefully you like this video. I'm going to keep continuing to research Palladium and see, geometry and other things I use to see if there's this probability are high that there's a turning point here, or there could be more downside. So I'll keep you posted. Maybe there might be a part 2 somewhere in the future, but so far you kind of got a good gauge of what's going on. Things are mixed. Some things are, clustering. Some things are just opposites, and that's the way trading is. You just got to decipher and see what's the best strategy to make money. Well, have a great weekend, and I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on Palladium.